Hey, what is up guys? Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to Gran Turismo 7. I do want to apologise, this video is about a week and a half late. Things just kind of happened unfortunately and it did push this video back. But we're looking at a money making method making use of one of the new cars to GT7, the Aston Martin Vantage from 2018. If this video does help you out, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe and turn your notifications on. Let's get into it then. So of course we're using the Aston Martin Vantage from 2018, brand new with GT7's latest content update. It has a PP rating a standard of 595.91, as you can see, FR drivetrain, 502 brake horsepower, weighing a pretty hefty 1530 kilograms, and it's turbocharged at standard. This car will set you back 210,000 credits, but you'll be earning that back in no time. Now, if you want to copy the same Aero Parts wheels and roll cage as myself, then I'm using this livery right here, the Pacific NAC livery by Subaru Levorg. As you can see, it's one of the Super GT GT300 liveries. If you don't want to copy the livery that I'm using, then here are the body modifications and aero tweaks that I'm running. The first is the wide body modification, which will set you back around about 50,000 credits. Next up is the wheels, and I'm running the BBS RIAs, and in terms of the customization options here, I'm running one of the bigger options for the wheel, so it's up to you whether you want to do 22 or 21, or you can keep it standard. We then have a wide width and of course a standard offset. Moving into the aero parts, at the front I'm running a Type A aero front bumper. There's no side option here, however at the rear we are once again running Type A. This will give you the full diffuser option. Then in terms of the wing, I'm running a custom wing set. It's going to be a high wing with a Type 2 end plate. And of course, to finish off, the roll cage that I'm using is going to be the roll cage Type B, and that completes all of the aero and body modifications for this build. Moving into the tuning sheet then, this is a 700 pp build. It runs as standard on the racing hards. However, I fully recommend getting yourself a set of racing heavy wets. The intermediates are completely useless. For some reason, it will bump the PP rating up over 700, so they are completely unusable. So you'll need racing hards and the wets. Suspension is fully customizable. Of course, you want to be able to customize this as much as possible. Body height at the front is 95 and at the rear is 100. Anti-roll bar at the front is set to 5, and then at the rear it is set to 8. Compression up next, and we're running 35 at the front and 40 at the rear. Expansion is 45 at the front and 50 at the rear. Next up is going to be the natural frequency. Now I'm running 2.75 at the front and 3.35 at the rear, with a negative camber angle of 2 at the front and 2.5 rear. Toe angle is a little bit opposite here, so it's going to be 0.05 outwards front and 0.05 inwards at the rear. Differential is fully customizable, of course. This is a key setting for your car. I'm going to set mine to 15 on torque, 15 acceleration and 10 on the braking sensitivity. Next up is the fully customizable manual transmission. Unfortunately, the racing just bumps it up just that slight too much. I set mine to 390, and then in terms of the manual adjustments, well, they're pretty much set in stone. No real changes here, so just feel free to pause and ensure that yours matches up with what I have on my screen now. Moving on with the rest of the build then, we do have 5 in the ballast. As for positioning, I've set this to -17. No power restriction on this build. We're running a normal ECU, downforce at the front is 110 and at the rear is 380, so minimum and maximum. Normal turbocharger, anti-lag system, we do have this off so it isn't necessary. Then we have the normal intercooler, normal air cleaner, racing silencer, normal exhaust manifold. Brake system is racing slotted discs and brake pads are racing. We have the normal handbrake, brake controller. I recommend running this around about 3. However, just remember that is purely my personal preference. Yours might be different. Next up, we have the racing clutch and flywheel. And then if we move over to the permanent modifications, we have weight reduction stage 1, 2 and 3. And then to finish up, we have increased body rigidity, and that fully completes this 700 pp build. Moving Moving on then to difficulty, you can find this in the options menu in which you can select your race difficulty. I fully recommend running this on easy just so the AI doesn't get in your way. However, if you want to, you can pretty much run this on normal or hard. However, again, the AI might just be a bit more of a pain to actually get through. But what about the event then? So we're going to head over into Europe for this one. So go ahead on your World Circuit selection screen, head into Europe and head up to 24-hour Le Mans Racing Circuit, or Le Mans. Once you're in here, you're going to be looking for a very specific event, and that is going to be the World Touring Car 700 with the maximum reward of 550,000 credits. Go ahead and enter this event. As for other events that this car can run in, well, it can run in plenty. However, the best ones I've found is Race of Turbo Sports Cars, in which it absolutely excels compared to everything else on the grid, and of course the rest of the WTC 700 events. Again, this car will go very well pretty much anywhere. However, another little mini grind that I really enjoy is Mount Panorama Motor Racing Circuit, in which the maximum reward is 165,000 credits. So let's go ahead and talk about the build itself. Well, the main reason to make this is to get some use out of the new cars to the game, and of course the best of the bunch is the Aston Martin Vantage from 2018. As for the car itself, well, it can be customized and upgraded to practically be a full-blown GT3 race car. However, I have had to detune slightly just to get it on that 700 pp limit. It is an incredibly stable car. There is a ton of grip here, it goes incredibly well with a very good top speed, and it's surprisingly fuel efficient, being able to run at fuel mix free for the majority of this event. However, that does require you to be in a manual transmission and short shifting as much as possible. If you find yourself struggling with this car to begin with, then honestly it really turns it into a more beginner friendly build. I think anyone can go well in this build that we're running. Let's move on to the strategy then. As mentioned in the build explained, you're going to be running fuel mix free for the majority of this event. Now, in terms of the AI that's up ahead of you, they are basically going to be rolling roadblocks. Just get past them as quick as possible. So switch your car to fuel mix free and just go ahead and work your way through the opponents. Another thing that I mentioned, you want to be short shifting as much as possible. So once the car starts revving up slightly, you've got enough power, shift into the next gear. Don't over rev it, because that's when the car starts drinking a lot more fuel. Of course, you do have a very good top speed here, massively capable of 190 miles per hour plus. As for taking the lead, well, you should be able to do this with relative ease and relatively early. As you can see, coming off of this section here, I very quickly catched up to the main pack. Typically it's the Corvette, the Viper and the Suzuki Swift. Get past them and the AI just won't bother you really for the rest of the race. Once you're in the lead, there are a few things that you might need to do. The first is monitor that weather radar, zoom it out to the maximum and just keep your eye on any rain formations that might possibly rolling in, and then of course just see what they're doing. There's a high chance you will get rain at this event. Another thing you might need to do, if you do overdrive the car in the early stages, just pop it down into fuel mix 6 and you'll be able to get a maximum of 3 laps out of the vehicle. Again, it just happens at time if you're not paying too much attention, which I clearly did here. As for my rain, well, it did end up actually coming in just as I was going around the midsection of the 3rd lap. Now at this point the track isn't getting too wet, and honestly I had plenty of stability, but by the time I came to the end of that 3rd lap there was a lot more rain coming in. At this point it was time to go ahead and take our pit stop. Now again, because we don't have the option for racing intermediates, we're going to completely ignore them, cover off the rain with a set of wets and fill the car to full. Now because we did have a pretty heavy formation of rain coming across the track at this point, my strategy is going to change slightly. Now because I don't want to have the car wheel spinning everywhere and kind of getting bogged down, I'm going to run it at fuel mix 6. This just reduces the amount of tyre wear and also keeps the car nice and stable during the tricky conditions. So I fully recommend just keeping the car in fuel mix 6 until the rain passes by. So for me, the track was pretty much in dry conditions by the end of lap 5, bar the pit exit and the main straight. And of course at this point my heavy wets are taking a bit of a beating, so it was time to get rid of them. I went for a set of racing hards, which is of course the only dry compound of tyre that we need, and of course I would fill the car to full. Mainly I'm just wasting wasting that bit extra time here, as the AI will have to pit again and I'll maintain an incredibly big lead over them. So we're going to pull it into the pit box, off come the wet tyres, on come the dry compound, and of course in goes the fuel just to kill that little bit extra time. Now at the end of the 6th lap I would typically do the stop and wait method, but because I had so long left I just decided to go round for a 7th and final lap. During this lap, well, I did catch a lot of the traffic. Again, the AI all over the place, so just be aware if you do end up on the same strategy as me here that you might run into the AI at this point. Then we just went ahead and finished up the race as normal. Overall, an incredibly easy and simple first place finish here. But let's go ahead and have a look at the timings. Now, because we did do the 7th lap, we completed it in 30 minutes 53.649. Again, you can get it really close to that 30-minute barrier if you just stop and wait at the finish line, typically at the end of the 6th lap. Our fastest lap was on lap 2 of a 4 minutes 2.974. As for the payout, well, it's going to be 825,000 credits every 30 minutes or so in one of the easiest races in the entirety of GT7. And well, that completes this easy money method. A massive thank you to all of my channel members on screen now. If there's any other cars that you want me to take a look at, or you have any builds yourself, then feel free to send them over to me. I'll see you in the next one. Take care guys. Peace.